episode 44. I'm Austin.
I'm Caleb.
And we are back with not a guest episode. But we want to say thanks so much for watching the Bailey Graham podcast that we just did. If you haven't watched that, you should. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty spectacular.
It's pretty spectacular. You should definitely check that out if you haven't already. There should be a trailer, little clip video thing that I made. If you're on YouTube, I'm pretty sure I posted it on YouTube. If not, it's definitely on the Instagram and stuff like that. So go check that out. If you're not sure about it, if you're questioning whether or not you should listen to the Bailey Graham podcast or not, the trailer will help with navigating that for sure. This episode is going to be all about applying for college and how you choose what school you want to go to and why you should choose the school that you're choosing and that kind of vibe. It kind of is almost time for that for the high school kids, which is kind of nuts. Because I didn't even think about that whenever I was writing these notes, and then I realized holy crap, these kids have to start applying for college in I don't know, probably less than a month.
Well, like right now.
Right now is time for it.
Yeah.
Fire. All right. Well, let's help them out, I guess, Caleb.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I'm going to take the reins, like we said just a second ago off the pod, and we're going to start with steps. The reason why I say steps in air quotes is because there's no real defined path here. There's no everybody's application process and deciding what they want to do with the after high school time of their life. None of it looks the same for anybody. So that's why I say steps with quotation marks. For the audio listeners, I did the hand quotes. But the first thing that you should definitely ask yourself before you even think about going to any school or doing anything after high school really is, what are you looking for? The examples that I kind of have here are, do you want a complete lifestyle overhaul, which means you move a couple hours away from your hometown and you live in a crappy dorm and you eat dining hall food and your whole life is shaken up by college, I guess, or whatever is next. Or another example is, are you more interested in pure academics? Do you want to just go and learn about something and get really good at something? Do you want to develop a skill? Those things are really important to ask yourself before you make any kind of decision on what school you want to go to or any kind of thing like that. How far away you want to go from home. Those questions are super important to ask yourself so that way you have some kind of basis, because every school is different. They do different things. They specialize in different things. They offer different things. Some of them have really crappy places to live, and if you want a complete lifestyle overhaul, then you would want to live somewhere that has a bed instead of an overpass for you to live under or something. So I think that those are important things to consider.
Yeah, that's definitely ideal.
Yeah. So, just you got to look inward. You got to ask yourself some questions, and you got to really figure it out, and you have to really think about it. This is something that's going to take a couple of months probably to really figure out what you're looking for. And it can be loose, but you need to figure out something. You need to have some frames. Otherwise, you're just going to get into something that you didn't mean to get into.
Mm-hmm.
And then my next kind of step here is doing your research for your options. So once you figure out what you're looking for, it becomes a whole lot easier to figure out what you have. Obviously, we live in the U.S. There's so many school options around. There's, in-state and out-of-state. There's pros and cons to that. Financially, obviously, that's one of the things that you have to consider whenever you do your research is how much debt are you going to get into, right out of the gate. Also, researching, again, fields of study, living space, quality of food, wherever you're going to be living. If you're going to end up in, I don't know, Nebraska. Nothing's going on in Nebraska, but you went there, and that was your fault.
And it's cold.
Yes, especially during school time. Yeah. So it's important to do your research there. And then one of the things that I have is you should write down all of the ones that you would seriously consider going to for whatever reason, and then categorize them as to why do you want to go to this school? What are the similarities? Or even just give them a top 5, I think that's really helpful for the decision-making process, and it's also really helpful for the application process, which is the next step. But Caleb, I'll let you jump in here on doing your research.
All right. So, thankfully, we didn't talk about our notes, and I came with a list of things that you should research before applying to college. And so, we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. The first thing that you should research before going to college is, does the school have the major that you want to study? So, for some people, You may not know what you want to study, but I feel like it's a pretty common thing that seniors in high school know what they want to go to college for most of the time. So whenever you're looking for a school, make sure that they have that program. If they don't have the program, then there's no reason that you should go to a school, even though you like love their sports team or whatever. So you have to make sure that they have the major that you want to study, because you don't just want to go to like your dream school because of like parties or like sporting events or whatever, because then you're going to end up doing something that you don't want to actually do. Because also, usually, I shouldn't say usually, but sometimes the first thing that comes to mind whenever you're like, what do you want to study, is usually what the heart desires the most, especially at the time. So just go ahead and like try it, you know?
I totally agree.
The second thing that you should research is student to faculty ratio. So me and Austin go to schools to where the student to faculty ratio is like a 1 to like 20 to 30.
I think my school actually is like 16.
Something like that. It's like we have crazy small classes. And for some people, that is perfect. For some people, that's how they learn. They like to be able to form a relationship with the professor, and they like to be able to ask questions like in class, you know. And so like you need to know the student faculty ratio. But if you're somebody who wants to go to college and be like just a number, you know, and feel like you don't have all the responsibility of like a normal student, you know, then you need to make sure that the student to faculty ratio is like higher. Like go to a school to where the lecture halls have like 450 seats, you know.
Bio 101.
Right.
Got a bunch of just an absolute whale of a classroom. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's something that you should know, because if you don't want a small class and you pick a school that has a low student faculty ratio, then you should have done your research, you know.
True. And I think that will sneak up on some people too.
Yeah.
And because it makes sense when you think about it. Like whenever you go to a big university, it makes sense that your gen eds especially are going to just be like overflowing with human beings. But some people just don't think about it like that.
Yeah.
So, and that would imagine not knowing that and then going to like American history. 9:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Massive lecture hall.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what do you do?
Yeah, 300 people.
Yeah, dude.
And then you have a question.
Imagine if you're the last one in. Where do you sit?
The only place that they have left, probably.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, but
yeah.
Yeah.
So the third thing that you should research, which might not matter to some people, but it should matter to everybody, is what is the percentage of students that graduate in 4 years? Because usually if the percentage of people who graduate from that school in 4 years, if it's low, then usually the advising is not that hot.
Yeah.
So that is definitely something that you need to consider, because like I'll speak from experience. The school that I go to, the advising staff is like amazing, and they do everything pretty much to help you out. And I think that is the case at most schools, but there's obviously the minority sometimes that don't have good advising staffs, and then they can put you in the wrong classes, or they are not paying attention to your deadlines, you know, and then, oh, no, now you're ended up being here like an extra semester, and then, like, now you have to pay for more college. So just, like, keep that in mind. Look for that. Most of the time it won't be an issue, but, like, sometimes it will be, so pay attention. The fourth thing that you should consider, you kind of covered this already, is the total cost of college. Figure out how much you're going to have to pay. Figure out how much you're going to have to go in debt. And then after you figure out the total cost, then you can start thinking about like scholarships or like school loans or whatever. But like you have to know how much it's going to cost first. And you also have to know how much it's going to cost, because if you don't prepare for how much it's going to cost, then you'll overpay every single time.
And it'll be like the worst surprise ever.
Yeah, because like school is a business, you know. They have to make money too. So if some student comes in with like no concept of money, then they're going to start charging you for like everything that you don't need, just like everything else. So be conscious of that. If you look online and it says that it costs $25,000 a year, like try and keep it close to that number, because people are going to try and sell you things that you don't need. So know the total cost. And then the last thing that you should research before applying to college is the available desired classes. So, my school, personally, we have in-person classes, we have online classes, and then we have these things called blended classes. And so, I usually take blended classes because that's what works for me. I go to class for lecture, and then I do all my homework, tests, quizzes, everything online. So, that's what works for me. I enjoy it. So if you enjoy that, then like see if the school does like a hybrid class or like a blended class. If you want online only, make sure that they have online options. If you want in-person only, then you can go pretty much anywhere. But like just make sure that the school offers the desired class that you want to take. And then it also goes for like electives too. If there's like some electives that you really want to take that you've heard about from like brothers or sisters or moms and dads or whatever, like go on there and see if they offer it, because most likely they probably do. And so you can learn a lot about a school by looking at like their class list.
For sure. Completely agree. Good stuff.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Those are all really important things to consider. So that's just basically don't walk into the campus on day one or like the application process and then be surprised about anything, because you can find all that information online.
Yeah, that's the whole point of like college websites, is to like throw the information in your face before you get there, because like college is very stressful. It's like especially if you go to like a big school, like you're like fresh out of high school, you know, maybe like 900 students, and then you end up going to like, I don't know, Chapel Hill or whatever, and then now you're at this school that has like, I don't even know how many, but like 50,000 students, you know?
And now you're in this place too, like this place in the world where everybody that's there is like, likes the same thing, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody's on the same page kind of all the time. It's crazy how that goes. But regardless, basically just don't be surprised about, you can find all the information online. Everything that you just said, all of those are selling points for schools. Like schools are going to flex that they have a big array of foreign language classes, like for your electives, or they give a lot of scholarship money. That's going to be something that they promote because that's a selling point for people to go to school. Yeah. The point is the information's out there. So do your research, guys. My next step here is you have to apply to everywhere that you want to go. And the emphasis here is on you want, because whenever you're applying for college, you're going to be in high school, obviously. Well, no, I guess not obviously. Most likely, though. And so you're going to have people who are kind of trying to make an outside decision for you. Maybe you have external factors that are pushing you towards one institution or whatever. There's a million different things that you can do there. But the important thing is that you end up in a place that you actually would want to be in, whether that's for the location, for the academics, for whatever. You don't have to go to the same school that your parents went to if you don't want to. You don't have to go somewhere to study engineering if you don't want to be an engineer just because somebody told you have to. So you need to just make the decision for you, because at the end of the day, it's your debt, and at the end of the day, it is your education, and it's your 4 years. And that's really important, I think, to consider. You have to apply where you want to be. And also, if you apply places that you don't actually want to go, and then you get a "you're accepted" thing in the mail, and then you get like a "hey, we're going to pay for half of your tuition because you got this scholarship," then it's going to become real tough to not go there. You know what I mean? So you have to be kind of careful about that, I think. And then the very last thing that you have to do whenever you're applying for college is, after you've applied, after you've gotten your acceptance letters back, all that whole big process, you have to make a forward-thinking choice, meaning you have to make the decision, you have to choose the school that makes the most sense for you for the next 4 years. And really, you're never going to like 100% know. Yeah. But you are going to have an idea, especially if you did your research and you really looked into different aspects and you asked people. I think asking questions is a really important thing. There are people who go to the school that you want to go to. You can just like DM them on Instagram. It's not weird. Ask questions. People will answer them. I think that's really important. But you have to make a decision that takes a little bit of the like emotion away from, I just graduated high school and now I get to go to college. You have to take some of that emotion out of it, and you have to make a decision that actually is going to be able to set you up for some kind of academic success in the future of your life. Yeah, totally. That's super important. Yeah. So I think that's really important. And that's all I've got for steps. And I want to talk about my resources real quick as far as actual things. Cool. So I've got some resources for you guys as far as how you can do your research. I think these are helpful for doing your research all around and stuff for really everything that Caleb said and also everything that I've kind of talked about so far. So the first thing that I want to talk about is Niche. It's a website. It's basically like Yelp for colleges. They do like rating and reviews for like the city that you're in, the dining hall food, the professors, the amount of classes that they offer, that kind of thing. It's definitely helpful to do that. Obviously, like take it with a grain of salt because they're just reviews by other people. So if somebody has a bad experience, it's the same thing as like a Yelp review. But I do think that it is a good way to get some baseline knowledge about just schools that you maybe want to go to or just are curious about in general. So that I think is really important. Niche.com is that one. And then Rate My Professor, I think, is another important resource for this because you can go onto these college websites. You can find the professors that are going to be teaching in something that you're interested in, and then like look the department up on Rate My Professor and see if they all suck, which happens sometimes, and see if that makes sense or whatever. And it's really important for you to do that because let's say that you want to study communications, but the communications department at the school that you want to go to is just brutal. Maybe they're like really hard, or maybe they are teachers that just lecture and you don't like that or whatever. You can find all of those answers pretty quickly if you use Rate My Professor or whatever. And you can find all of the professors that you're going to have in whatever you're trying to study. You can find all of that on the college website too. So do that.
Yeah.
And then the last resource that I want to talk about here is YouTube. At this point in YouTube's existence, there's been plenty of people who have made day-in-the-life vlogs from pretty much every school, no matter how big or small or how good or bad the quality of those vlogs are. They exist. So if you're interested in what like a typical like day in the life looks like on a college campus at whatever school you're trying to go to, it exists on YouTube. So you might as well look at that. And that's going to be real actual insight as to what the lifestyle looks like there because it's a real person talking into a camera, not a company. So that's an important resource too. If you just want like some real insight about what's going on in your college campus. Yep.
Yeah, totally. I guess so now we're going to transfer into some things that we would recommend or some tips that we have gained from past experiences from applying to college because if you didn't know, we've already done that one time. Mm-hmm. I've done it 2 times.
Oh, shout out to you. Let's
whoop,
go.
Whoop, whoop. So the first thing that I would recommend is, especially for like freshmen going into college, is college tours. They're super important. These are times where you can go to a school and like tour the campus, talk to higher ups at the school, see some other people who are like kind of interested in going to the school too. This is a time where you can go and ask pretty much any question that you could ever have, and like somebody will be there to answer you. And so that is like a super important thing. And also like if it's a school that you want to go to that's like far away that you can't afford to like take a trip there during like the school year or whatever because you have class or whatever, then YouTube also plays a big part of this. I did every single college tour that I went on through YouTube.
Really?
Because, like during COVID year.
Virtual.
Yeah, there was no such thing as...
All mine were real.
As college tours. And so then I just went on YouTube and like looked up like college tours. And, dude, you can find like every single school in the whole world there. Which is absolutely insane, but like super helpful. It's like another way that you can use that resource, YouTube there. But again, take it with a grain of salt because if you go, like if a college schedules a tour and there's like 1,000 like new freshmen that are coming to like tour the school, then the school is probably gonna like
be in tip-top shape.
Yeah, exactly. The food is gonna be in tip-top shape.
They're gonna Disneyland it.
Yeah, it's gonna be so clean. Everything's gonna like look nice and pristine. The grass is gonna be cut. The bushes are trimmed back. Like all these things. So keep that in mind. Whenever you actually live there for 4 years, it's probably not gonna look the exact same as it was whenever you went on your tour there. But it's still a nice way that you can go and especially like just get information about the school.
For sure. That's super important. One of the things that I think that people should know about whenever they're applying for college is application fees. Um, that is a surprise attack that you're probably not considering, especially like as a high school kid. That was something that I don't know, confused me. I was like, why do I have to pay to send my application in? But you do a lot of the time, so do that obviously. But also just don't be prepared for them. You can find them online, obviously, how much it's going to cost or whatever. It's different for every school, but just know that they're coming, no matter what. No matter what
Yeah.
you want to do, they're coming.
Yeah.
Um, I also definitely agree with touring all of your options. I did that, and I went into those tours knowing kind of what I wanted to study. So for me, it was all about kind of meeting the people that were going to be teaching me what I wanted to study. Um, and then that's whenever I made my choice and blah blah blah. But touring just allows you to, and also too, you can see the facilities that you're working with too.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that I think is really important as well because you can just kind of see what the facilities are looking like. Like, what are you going to be able to go to school? Probably even more so now because all my tours were during COVID. So I don't even know that we could go into any buildings or anything like that. But definitely tour your options. And also, it's worth just going to the tours anyways because usually you get a free T-shirt. Totally worth it.
Yeah.
Totally worth it.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that I kind of wanted to talk about from experience here is asking questions. At least for me, every time that we did a college tour, it was with like a student ambassador or whatever. And asking them questions, they will answer them honestly. I kind of learned. They're not going to like sugarcoat it really. If you ask them how the dining hall food is, they'll tell you that it sucks, probably. So the point is that they are working for the school, obviously, as a student ambassador, but they're not just going to like lie to you, I don't think.
Yeah.
It's going to be less likely for like another college student to just straight up lie to you like that. So, but just always ask questions if you have any, especially if you have specific questions that like Google can't answer. While you're on the college campus, ask them. They can also point you in the direction of people that you should talk to. It's also really important. And then also the last one that I kind of want to talk about here is consider the resources that your college campus offers. Whether that is like specialized facilities, maybe you need like a green screen. That's like a very important part of your academic adventure. Make sure that your college campus has a green screen, unless you have access to your own green screen, right? Look into like writing center and tutoring and stuff like that on your campus. I don't think I've ever heard of one not having something like that, but if you go somewhere that doesn't have one, take that into consideration because those are helpful things for students, and it would suck not have them, especially like surprisingly. So just consider what your college campus has got. Like if the gym is very important to you, look into what your college gym, like what do they look like? How do you get to go to there? What time can you go there? How do you avoid like all of the sports teams working out at the same gym? Blah blah blah. So just consider the facilities and the resources that your college campus has too. I think that's really important because you can easily overlook that.
Yeah.
And that's all I got.
All right. So I'm just gonna go through the rest of my list here. Another thing that I would recommend before applying to college, most of the time, this is like whenever you do a college application, there are like required things that you have to submit, and then there are like some optional things that you have to submit. This is usually an optional thing, but I think that it helps every time, and that is a professional resume. Sometimes you can like build a resume in high school. Like sometimes classes will do that, and I would recommend that if you do that in high school, like take it seriously, because like if you build a like nice professional resume one time, then you can use it for your whole life, because you just have to like keep adding to it instead of like making a new resume, because the one I did in high school, like I didn't take seriously and it like looked like, junk or whatever.
Like a Word doc.
Yeah, and so like that was one thing that like I did in school. Like I built a resume in high school, like honestly probably a couple times, but I've never used those again because like I didn't take it seriously whenever I made it, So if you make one in high school, please take it seriously. But if you didn't make one in high school or you didn't take it seriously, like take the time now to build a professional resume, because like schools dig that.
Yeah.
If they see like an application with a resume on it and they open your resume and it like looks nice and professional, dude, like you're higher up in the rank now. If you were like if your test scores are bad or whatever, like, and then you have a good resume, then you know you
True.
still have a chance.
That's true.
So
That's true.
that's one thing that I totally recommend. Were you about to say something?
No. There's templates out
Yeah.
there for it too. Word has templates. Mine was made in Canva. So,
Yeah, I made mine in Canva.
Yeah. Canva has really good options.
Yeah, they really do. And then another thing is ask people for recommendation letters. This like helps a ton if you have some people that are like super smart dudes or like women and you know them and they like respect you as a human. Go ask them for a recommendation letter, because that's another thing that is like not required whenever you apply to school most of the time, but it's like an optional thing that like always helps. So I would totally recommend that. Recommend a recommendation.
Not bad, but
and so totally do that. And then the last thing that I would recommend is know your deadlines, because there are always deadlines whenever it comes to college applications, especially like right now. Most schools are doing like the early applications. So take advantage of that, because now they are going to see your name faster than they see anybody else's name. So like take the deadline seriously and like know them. But then also like if you miss the early application, it doesn't matter. They still have like the normal time applications, but those end too. So you just have to like make sure that you're getting it done on time. And also like don't be the last dude to apply, because then you're just like messing up your chances, especially if it's like your dream school. And like even if you have like a 4.0 GPA and you scored a 135 on the SAT. Is that the score for the SAT? I can never remember. But like even if you have like the best grades in the whole world, but you're the last dude to apply to college, like, and you applied at 11:59 on the last day of application time, like they're gonna see that.
Yeah,
they're gonna recognize that. So just know the deadlines and like be ambitious whenever you apply.
For sure, totally agree. Not bad.
I don't think so.
Applying for college.
Yeah, it's so crazy that like people are applying for college right now. Like
Yeah.
I just applied to Catawba like yesterday.
Yeah. Dang.
Well, a couple days ago.
But still, though,
it felt like yesterday. But
dude, I would have never even thought that like this was the time of year to do that.
Yeah, I know, it was crazy. That's what gave me the idea for the pod.
I fair enough. Fair enough. Well, hopefully you guys took something away from this podcast. If you are applying for college over the next, God, it takes forever, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna take like a couple of months for you guys to get it all done. Nothing goes quickly in that process.
No, dude, and I'll tell you a little story from my like experience of applying to Catawba like just this past weekend. So I'm like on their website, you know, and it's like, because like I'm a college transfer, so like I'm transferring in from a different college, and they're like, if you've completed 24 credit hours of college, which I've done, then you don't need to submit a high school transcript. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And so then I do my whole application, I get everything done, everything submitted. It takes like all weekend to do, like everything. And then I like finally hit submit, and then it pulls up this screen, and it's like, it has like an X beside the
transcript,
beside the high school transcript. And I'm like, dude, how do I even get one of those?
Yeah.
So then I go like on my old like high school's county's website, and there's like a place where you can buy a transcript, but you can only buy like an official transcript, and it needed to be unofficial. And so then I'm like, well, I'll just buy an official one. Like, it doesn't matter. And then
it mattered.
Well, it didn't matter, but you couldn't get it like digitally. And I'm like,
print it?
Yeah, I'm like, and they like, we're going to mail it to my house. So I'm like, that's at least a week right there. So then I ended up just going to the high school, and I was like, can you guys email me an unofficial transcript? And they were like, yeah. So then like I did that, and I got it all figured out. But I was just like,
what a joke.
And it's like, you told me that I didn't need that.
Yeah.
And then I needed it. So, like, also be prepared for that kind of stuff. There's always setbacks. Nothing goes right the first time, like, with anything, but especially, like, applying for college, because it's just, like, so much information that you have to, like, enter about, like, yourself and about your history and, like, your family's history and, like, all this stuff. It's
crazy.
But it's so fun. It's so good.
It's, like, exhilarating almost.
Yeah, especially, like, whenever you get like the first letter, like saying like you got in, and then like right then it's like all worth it.
Yeah.
You know.
Facts. Agreed. I can remember whenever I got like my little thing in the mail for going to Catawba too. It was right after. Remember that day that we had golf practice and it rained like
Oh, yeah.
crazy. It was that day.
Oh yeah.
Came home from that like absolutely soaking wet,
Yeah.
and then I got like a little pulley out thing that was cool.
Yeah, that's fun.
It was like exactly. So it was a cool experience. Anyway, we'll wrap the show up on that note. So. If you guys are applying to college, obviously, reference this podcast. There's a lot of really good information in here. And just kind of keep it in your back pocket because there's a lot of things that I think you should consider, obviously. So either take notes. I guess if you're listening to this at the end, you have already listened to all of this information. But regardless, you can just reference the podcast. It's helpful, I think. It'll be good for you guys. But make sure to like and subscribe and rate and review the show across all the platforms. We really appreciate that. To everybody that's new from the Bailey Graham podcast that we just did, what's up? Thank you so much for listening to this episode all the way through. We appreciate that again. Make sure to share the show around to everybody else that you know who needs help applying to college, because this is just some real advice from two people who applied for college 2 years ago. I guess you did like 72 hours ago.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks so much for watching. We're back every Friday with this kind of vibe of a show, more informative, more helpful. And then every Wednesday we do a show called Caddy Corner After Hours, which is more laid-back, kickback vibes. And we will see you guys next week. I'm Austin. He's Caleb. And we'll see you next week. Peace.